Hello everyone and welcome back to the Angels franchise. In the last couple of episodes, we have suffered with some injuries, including to Mike Trout, who tore his groin, Jo Adell broke his ankle, and David Calabrese broke his forearm. None of these are season-ending injuries, but they are pretty long, Mike Trout's being 1 to 2 months, and prior to that injury, he was not playing particularly well, and regression was hitting him like a truck, perhaps even a bus. And I'd like to point something out to you really quick. Trout is 33 years old with 99 true potential, one of the best to ever do it. And yet his regression is so absolutely horrendous, which I think obviously has a decent bit to do with how poorly he had started the season in terms of his average and his OBP, which was climbing prior to his injury. But then there's Jorge Soler. He has beat potential. He's 33 years old and regression is only very mildly hitting him. And in fact, he's improving in a lot of ways. Soler is having a better season than Trout was, at least in the average and OBP departments, although Trout does still have one more home run than Soler. And what's the difference between those two players? Well, one of them's DHing and the other one's playing in the outfield. Do with that information what you will. Today's episode is going to be a lot of preparing for the draft and a lot of roster management and potential trade talks as we near the deadline and we near draft day. So there will still be some gameplay, but perhaps slightly less than in previous episodes. The Angels come into this episode 33 and 34, one game off of being 500. They're 9.5 back of the Rangers. So the Rangers do appear like they're going to lead the way in the AL West this year, meaning that if the Angels want any chance to make the playoffs, it would be through the wild card. And currently they are half a game back of the Orioles, tied with the Tigers and the Rays. And so basically at this point, this season goes one of two ways. We do a little mini blow up. We trade some assets to brighten the future a little bit, or we try to go in on making it to the wild card. I'd love your guys' opinion, and I'll tell you that my personal lean would be to do a mini blow up where we kind of shut the season down to an extent. Obviously, if we keep winning, we keep winning, but trade away some assets to get some younger guys into the roster. Guys that come to mind that could be traded: Yusei Kikuchi, Taylor Ward, who is having a pretty good season, Luis Rengifo potentially, although I'm more inclined to keep him, Jorge Soler, Jo Adell I think is maybe even up for being traded. He has just continued to have bad year after bad year here in LA. And at what point do we stop giving the man chances? He does have 80 true potential, so he does have a little bit of room to grow, and he is still experiencing that growth, and he does have a couple more years of team control, so it doesn't necessarily hurt to keep him around. But if it could entice a team into giving us a better prospect, we could always throw him in as a trade piece. I do personally prefer Mickey Moniak in center field, and contrary to Adell, Mickey Moniak is actually having a pretty good season, but he does have a much lower ceiling at only a 74 potential, not to mention that he is a year older. I also think we need to deal Robert Stevenson as quickly as possible. His contract is worth so much money, and I just don't see a world where he's really a part of this bullpen like at all, because even though we might try to deal Kenley Jansen this year as well, we have Ben Joyce. I think Ben Joyce is the clear new closer for this team in the future. So Stevenson is just taking up way too much money. We'll trade him for like literal scraps at this point. And another guy I think we need to get rid of ASAP is Travis d'Arnaud. He is just seeing a ton of regression at age 36, falling off a cliff, which I think is partially my fault for not really playing him, but I'd much rather see Logan O'Hoppe get the majority of the plate appearances, though he has struggled a bit to start the year. But then the issue becomes, if we trade d'Arnaud, what do we do at catcher for a backup for O'Hoppe? And that's a phenomenal question because I have no idea. None of these guys are MLB ready down here. We could also deal Yoan Moncada. I think he would carry some value. He's only 29, so there is still a little bit of room for growth there. And he is also a free agent after this year, so even better time to trade him away. JD Davis could take over his spot at third, or we could slot Rengifo over to third and potentially call up Christian Moore, one of the top prospects in this system. And I'll use that as a segue into the top prospects screen. If you're curious how many Angels are on the top 100 prospects list, it is exactly one, and you have to scroll a long ways to find him. All the way down at number 79, it is Caden Dana. And I realized I had been pronouncing his last name wrong. I believe it's pronounced Dana upon more research. Caden definitely has potential to be a big part of our rotation in the future. He's 21 years old. He's got, I believe, high C potential. I want to say it's a 78 or a 79, 65 overall already. And he's just very balanced across these attributes. If you want to look at the top 20 by organization, it's Dana and then Christian Moore. Klassen, Urena is here. Frances Texido, who's been playing at single A this season, one of our youngest prospects. Nelson Rada is an interesting guy. Randy DeJesus could be pretty good. But the only guy here with better than C potential is Christian Moore. Everyone else is C or worse. Christian Moore has low B potential. And you might notice that Caden Dana was in AAA to start the year. Now he's in AA. He was struggling a bit at AAA. It wasn't like embarrassingly bad numbers, but definitely wanted to see him down at AA and just, you know, kind of get things going a little bit more. And in his first outing at AA, well, he went 6 2/3 innings, 14 strikeouts. He had a couple walks, a couple hits given up. I believe he faced a total of 24 batters and he struck out 14 of them. That is disgusting. At shortstop, a guy who's been playing really well is Kyron Paris. He's actually seeing a lot of attribute upgrades right now. He can also play second, so if we need to move some things around, we can do that in the future. But even his potential is a 74. So we'll see if any of these guys improve, but the farm system is just so weak here in Anaheim. And before we move on, one other thing I'll mention, I did send Hans Kraus down to AAA. His MLB numbers were not great coming out of the bullpen. And then I've called up Connor Brogdon just to have a change of pace. I think he's a little bit more balanced than Kraus. You'll see that Kraus is better in a lot of ways, but Brogdon is a lot more even across the board. So now I'll leave the question to you. What do you guys want to do with the Angels? Do we kind of blow it up, do a little mini blow up, trade away some of these older guys like Taylor Ward, like Darno, like Soler, like Kikuchi, or do we stick it out and see if we can squeak out a playoff berth? After some deliberation, I am going to make this trade with the Phillies. They end up with Robert Stevenson. They need a little bit of help in their bullpen. He gives them an immediate boost. He really isn't a bad reliever by any means. They also get right field prospect Tucker Flint, 63 overall with deep potential. We get Max Lazar, or perhaps it's pronounced Laser. You let me know in the comments if you know, who is a C potential relief pitcher who is 25. He's only a 56 overall, so there's really a chance that he never improves enough to see any action at the MLB level past what he's already done. But then the guy I'm most excited about is Ricardo Perez. He's a first baseman, but he can play catcher and he's a good fielder. So this could be the guy to play catcher behind Logan O'Hoppe in the future, and it just increases our farm system a little bit. I like Ricardo Perez a lot, and this helps the Phillies, who are looking to contend this year, and of course have one of the best first basemen in baseball in Bryce Harper. So the first trade in the series is complete. There's no guarantee we end up seeing either of these guys really ever in the series that we just acquired, but we weren't seeing Stevenson. It offloads a really bad contract. We've got Perez, who I think is actually a pretty exciting prospect in the future. If you're curious of his true potential, it is a 78. And I definitely see him more as a catcher in the future than as a first baseman, but for now, I will leave him be at first. We are going to officially start designating Ben Joyce as a closer, though I believe he will still just remain the setup man for now behind Kenley Jansen. So we'll make that change. He will now be switched to a closing pitcher. We'll see what that does to his overall, actually. He becomes a 77 closing pitcher, which I think makes a lot of sense. He's got some really elite closing pitcher attributes. Him and Kenley have both been incredible this year. If we look at Kenley's stats, I mean, they're almost just as good as Joyce. So I don't want to take the closer role away from Kenley yet, and I don't think I want to trade him just yet either. But that is probably coming later this year. We'll probably trade Kenley Jansen and Ben Joyce will take over as the true closer. So with all of that out of the way, let's get through some simulating. This series against Baltimore actually kind of important. We're currently half a game back on them in the wild card, and we get a chance to hop in immediately. 3-3, bottom of the ninth. Jorge Mateo at the plate. Jose Quijada at the mound. Looking to just keep this one tied so we can head to extras as this gets away from O'Hoppe immediately, and they will all advance. So the double play ball no longer in order. So with that, we're actually going to intentionally walk here. We want that double play possibility. Brings up the 9-hitter Colton Cowser. The 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He got his man, but now we're back to the top of the Baltimore order. 0-2 count for Quijada again. Going to that slider, and he gets him to miss on it. And in the bottom of the ninth, he holds steady. 3-3 is the tie. We head to extras. Top of the 10th, the runners on the corners with 2 outs and David Dahl at the plate. David's days are kind of numbered when Joe Adell comes back, when Mike Trout comes back. I don't know how much he'll be playing, but he's batting at 273 right now. Looking to take a lead for the Angels so that we have potential to win this one in the bottom of the 10th. Dahl grounder to third. They'll take the play at second. and get Rengifo. So to the bottom of the 10th we go. Can't allow that ghost runner to come around. Fast forward now, it's bottom 11. Kenley Jansen is in the game. Adley Rushman at the plate. 4-3 Halos. So potential to get out of this one with a victory here for Kenley Jansen. A pop-up. Just barely outside of the infield. Neto underneath it. Out number 1. 2 strikes. Runner on second. Kenley, what have you got? Throwing the slider. And he'll chop that one foul. Swing and a miss on a nasty slider way out of the zone. And Kenley Jansen is 1 out away from getting the Angels a much-needed W. Starts out 2-0. He's missing pretty badly to start this AB. Back up the middle. Jansen can't make the play. The runner's heading home. Moniak needs to make a play, and he's safe at the plate. If Kenley Jansen could have just picked that one as it was straight back at him, it'd be game over. Instead, there's a chance for a Baltimore victory. Grounder, Rengifo is on it, makes the tough play to first instead of the play at second. And that ends the 11th inning. To the 12th we go. It's the exact same situation. Bottom of the 12th, Kenley Jansen, the man on the mound, has a 1-run lead for the Angels. So just needs to get 3 outs and not allow that ghost runner to come around. But he's also about to get back around to the top of the order, so it only gets more difficult for Jansen as he leaves this one hanging. It's deep to left. Taylor Ward will line up to throw this. The runner on second is not particularly fast. He will hold. Garcia this year batting a .429 with runners in scoring position. Hopefully he does not keep that up here. Strike 3 looking. A perfect fastball at the top of the zone from Kenley Jansen. He put the 2-seamer out there, breaks the opposite way of that cutter, and it broke back into the zone. That is a great pitch. It is the same situation again. 1 out to go. Painting is Kenley Jansen. Hits the slider. Shanuel makes the play, and the Angels get out of here with a victory in the 12th inning. Kenley Jansen, I believe, does not get credit for a save here in extra innings, but we'll give him the save in our hearts as he clutches this one up in the 12th. The Angels needed that victory over Baltimore. They are in a deadlock for that final wild card position. So Kenley Jansen didn't get the save, of course, but he did get the win. So some would argue that that might be even better. That is his first credited win on the season. And apparently Yohan Moncada pulled his groin today. What's up with the groin injuries on this team? And Jorge Soler is also injured with some forearm tightness. What is going on with this baseball team? These are minor injuries. They'll probably just miss like the rest of the Orioles series, but good Lord. Second game against the Orioles, Zach Neto coming to the plate. He's got the bases loaded with 2 gone in the top of the 7th. Neto batting a .310 so far this season. Missed the first couple weeks, but has been here for the majority of the season. Neto grounder right to the shortstop, but it eats him up a bit, and everybody is safe. The Angels will score a run on an E6. Zach Neto, I thought he just killed the inning with this soft grounder, but no, it bounces off the glove. And the play is not made at second. Nolan Shanuel now with an opportunity to blow this one wide open with 1 swing of the bats. Has a really good sinker. Swing and a miss on a slider that is just on that inside corner. Shanuel really had no chance on that one. Run comes across, though, due to the error. And the Angels have a lead. But the Orioles end up with the win. Gunnar Henderson hits a solo shot to win the game in a walk-off in the bottom of the 9th. Jose Suarez, the man with the loss. Why in the world is Jose Suarez in the bottom of the 9th? Actually, I think I know why. It's because we used so much of our bullpen to get that 12-inning victory in game number 1. Joyce was probably not available, and neither was Jansen. So now that I think about it, I think I understand why Jose Suarez was in the game in the bottom of the 9th. And we simulate the rubber match against the Orioles, and the Angels do take it. So still sticking right around that 500 mark, and they win against the O's, which is good for the standings. Now, a 4-game set versus the Yankees, and we lose 3 of those 4. back down below 500 once again. So I don't know if anyone else has experienced this yet, but I did just get a bug where I could not set my third scouting assignment. There is a workaround for this. If you have experienced this issue, I had to just hire completely new scouts. That was the only way that it unlocked. So this late in the year, we've got a totally new scouting team. I went for high efficiency with a couple guys, and then I went for high discovery with the other one. I know I made fun of him last episode, but I am actually going to scout Reggie Jenkins. He could potentially be our very last pick. If that potential is truly quite high, it doesn't really matter that he's going to start with a pretty low overall. I think he's probably going to be most likely in the 40s. And then another pitcher I wasn't really considering before, Mark Humphreys. We're adding him to our board. He's the MLB draft rank 61. Very young, high potential, and I think could potentially be our second round pick. And here is currently our big board. So there's Todd Dennison, who I think should be available in the second round. Something about him is scary to me because his attributes just do not look as good as Kevin Vasquez. Yet for some reason, he is above Vasquez on the board. So something about Todd Dennison is a little fishy to me. I think we might kind of be getting scammed, but I'm not sure. Vasquez, I think, is an incredible player, potentially going to take him if Carmona is not available. And the more I think about Ben Carmona, the more I think the Nats might actually take him at first overall. I think he's easily the best pitcher in this class, the most surefire pick in the class straight up. So don't be surprised if the Nationals end up stealing Ben Carmona from us. And then we just have to have a backup plan. And looking through the comments, a lot of you guys say best player available. That might be Kevin Vasquez at that point. But if we want to lock in a starting pitcher, I actually am kind of thinking maybe Robert Gonzalez. He's 35th on the MLB board, but he's our draft rank 6. Got great stamina, pretty good velocity and break. The control is concerning, but he's also 19, could have very high potential. So here is how scouting is going after switching our scouts. Because we have that huge discovery scout now, we are sending him out to hopefully discover some outfielders centrally so that maybe we can get somebody late if we don't get Vasquez, if we don't want to get Dennison. We're scouting Mark Humphreys. I think he could potentially be a great second round pickup. And we're also scouting Dave Williams for the same reason. Back to simulating, and the Angels have dropped another game now, 3 games below 500, this time losing a series to the Astros. And they now find themselves 2.5 games back of the wild card, so slipping a little bit. And then another series loss to Boston. So I think that it's kind of starting to slowly slip away for the Angels. A series versus Washington, though, could help us out, and we've already won the series by winning the first 2 games. So our discovery scout did find Christopher Edney out of the Central, and this has to be fake because obviously he looks absolutely incredible. This is of course with 10% scouting, but right now he looks great. I think Dave Williams is an absolute steal in the second round if we get the opportunity to take him. While the potential is not elite, it's definitely great. 83 to 88 is awesome. Starts with a high overall, and I mean, look at the balance on all of this. He's not a big strikeout guy, but he is good at everything. So another week of scouting. This time we're going to go to 100% on Humphreys, see what he's all about. And we are going to scout that left fielder to see if he is actually as good as he appears. So the last game of the month of June for the Angels, and it is a sweep of the Nats. That is exactly what this team needed to get back on track. And now let's take a look at the stats now that we're at the end of another month. Jorge Soler is apparently a league leader in something. I'll go find out what in just a second. But if we sort by average, Neto has fallen down a bit, but a 297 is still incredible. We'll absolutely take that. He is continuing to improve, has been the best player on the team this year. D'Arnaud has come back down to earth now that he's seeing a little bit more plate appearances. Taylor Ward back down to a little bit more average territory for him, although this is a pretty good year, his best one since 2022. Moncada's playing pretty well. Moniak playing pretty well. Soler has been okay. Looks like Jorge Soler is drawing walks like crazy, 44. So maybe that's where he leads the league. That leads our team at the very least. In terms of home runs, Soler leads the team with 13 now. Trout, who's been on the IL for close to a month at this point, is still second with 11. Ward has 10. Neto has 10. Shawnoel Moncada with 9. And then I will scroll down. Here's everyone else. Logan O'Hoppe continuing to not find his power. Very interesting. I believe the last time we checked on him, which would have been close to the beginning of the month of June, he had 5. So he has gotten 1 in the entire month. And that was in that series against the Nationals. Zach Neto leading us in OBP with 364. I believe he also leads us in stolen bases, which he does with 15 Rengifo with 11. Leader in RBIs is Taylor Ward with 46. Soler with 43. Neto with 41. Leader in slugging is Darno, but leader in slugging for guys who actually play is Zach Neto with a 481. And the OPS is also Zach Neto with an 845. Drawing walks, Soler and Shawnuel elite at the top of the team for that, 44 and 42. 32 for Rengifo, 27 for Ward, 26 for Ohapi. So at least Logan is getting on base at a decent rate despite his struggles. Shawnuel is still not batting well, but he's got an even better OBP than Ohapi, and he is still seeing significant improvement to his ratings. So, I mean, the guy's getting on base. I don't feel the need to send him down just yet. He could be improving even faster, but he's improving pretty fast as it is. Soler and Moncada lead the team in strikeouts, each with 73. Ward with 69. Nice. Moniak 58. Ohapi 55. Leader in doubles is Mickey Moniak with 19. Rengifo has 18. Ward with 14. Ohapi near the top of the team with 14, and Neto with 13. Triples is Neto. And then in terms of WAR, it's Neto by a lot. Nearly a 3 WAR. Moncada is second of players not currently injured with a 1.3. Ohapi with a 1.2. Moniak with a 1. And then these are the guys below a 1. And then these are our negatives at the moment. Nolan Shawnuel, for what it's worth, negative 0.7 WAR so far this season. By the way, prior to injury, Trout was striking out nearly 32% of the time, which explains why his vision in particular was tanking. I'm also realizing that what I said at the top of the episode about them both being 33, Trout and Soler, that is, probably has nothing to do with the regression. Trout has 14 years of service time. Soler has 10. And I think that the MLB service time has a lot more to do with the regression in this game than actual age, though I know the age obviously plays a part of it. And now if we look at pitchers, Jose Soriano is continuing to have an incredible year. 2.2 ERA, 1.16 whip. I mean, that is fantastic from Soriano. He's 7-7, but I mean, the team is right around 500, so it makes sense that the pitcher that is pitching the best is right around 500. Unfortunately, he is still seeing a little bit of regression. He's battling it for sure by having such a good season, but just because that potential is below his overall, he is going to have a hard time actually improving it all. But I mean, hey, if he can play like this, don't really need him to improve. Reed Detmers has kind of turned his season around a little bit. The ERA is still a touch high, but he's got a pretty good whip. Jack Kahanowicz has been very good, very quality as a starter. I'm pleasantly surprised. He has started in 13 games, and I have not really had many complaints about him. He plays very well. In fact, look at all of his recent starts. They're all pretty good, only allowing a couple earned runs in most of them. His worst start was over a month ago. Kyle Hendricks has been pretty bad, and he is getting hit by regression really, really hard. I'm sort of thinking we might just cut him here pretty soon. And Yusei Kikuchi is kind of on a downward trend. He had been playing really, really well to start the year, and now he is struggling. I mean, look at these recent games. 3-2, 7-2, 3-1, 6. Like, just a lot of games giving up a lot of runs. So he is on a cold stretch right now, kind of ruining his ERA and whip. Numbers aren't horrible, though. Ben Joyce still incredible out of the bullpen. ERA has come up a little bit. Tyler Anderson has continued to be awful, but is also improving weirdly, which I think has to do with that MLB service time. He's at 9 years. So even though he's 35, he hasn't seen any actual regression yet, which is super odd, but he is having a horrible season. He started injured, has not seen a ton of starts since, but just really hasn't been good in those starts either. And then down here at the bottom is mostly bullpen guys who have been bad. Quijada has been horrible. I think he is maybe a trade candidate. Jose Suarez has been bad. Kenley Jansen's been elite. Gonzalez has been pretty good. Dakota Hudson has been pretty good. And Connor Brogdon has been really good in the 10 innings he has pitched since getting called up. So Soler is the league leader in walks drawn, and then Nolan Shawnuel is in third. Imagine if Shawnuel was just hitting well this season. His OBP would be over 400. But I love that for these two. It means they're getting on base. So we are officially into the month of July, and we're only 11 days away from the first year player draft. And then it's the All-Star break, but we'll probably just kind of skip over that, to be honest. So a series against a Braves team that is really good, 53 and 32, and we've got an opportunity to step in. Bottom of the ninth, Ben Joyce in the game, up 2 runs, looking to just get a final out. He's against Ozuna here. This is a great test for Joyce. See if he truly is ready to take over that closer role. And he gets that one on the corner. Perfect fastball placement. So the 1-2 pitch to Marcell Ozuna, and he swings at a nasty slider, and Joyce gets out of it, giving his Angels a victory. And they take down one of the top dogs in baseball. The Braves having a great season, but the Angels needed these wins. Game 2 in the series against Atlanta. And it's the top of the ninth. Knotted at 3 apiece. Luis Rengifo to the plate, 1 gone in the inning. Runners on second and third. Looking to bring one of them around at least. I just like to point out that I think this is weird. They just did a pitch out against Rengifo with a runner at third. Did they think we were going to steal home? Very interesting. 3-0 count for Rengifo. At this point, if I'm the Braves, I'm probably walking him just to give myself the opportunity at a double play. But instead, Rengifo will just bail you out anyway. Pops this one into foul territory. Nobody can advance. My timing was good. It was a pitch that I think was decent enough to hit. Just weak contact from Rengifo. Jorge Soler now needs to be the hero. And my God, how are we not crushing that? This has been a long at-bat for Jorge Soler. This next pitch will be the 9th. It is a 2-2 count. Soler will foul off another one. 12th pitch of the at-bat will walk Jorge Soler to first. What a battle that was. No wonder he leads the majors in walks. Logan O'Hoppe, I couldn't buy a hit with him in my player lock earlier, but maybe we can get one here. Logan, oh, a meatball that he misses. Force out at second. And now the Angels will need extra innings again. The Braves, though, walk it off in game number 2. Jose Quijada, once again, getting credited with a loss. He has been horrific for us this year. 17 runs is what the Braves just put up on us. And is that Kikuchi that gave that up? You say Kikuchi goes 3 2/3, allowing 3 earned runs. Dakota Hudson gives up 2. Kyle Hendricks gives up 6 earned runs. Why did we leave him in for 1.2 innings? Jose Suarez gives up another 4. He doesn't even get an out. He did not record an out. And then even Victor Gonzalez gives up another earned run, but at least he got through 2 1/3. 17 runs total, 16 earned, an error for Luis Rengifo, and the bats couldn't do anything. Shawnuel gets another hit. I guess that's a positive. 5 hits for Ozuna. What are we doing? A weekend series versus Toronto, as we have now lost 4 straight, losing the first 2 against the Blue Jays. David Calabrese no longer injured. The question becomes if he stays or if David Dahl does. And I think the answer is that David Dahl stays, so we'll move him back down to AAA. Alexander Ramirez is batting a .273 at AAA since getting called up and playing in place of Calabrese. So I think he will stay. And Nelson Rada, who has just kind of recently started playing at AAA, is not playing well. We will move him back down to AA. So this is the final week of scouting. We did discover one more prospect, an international outfielder, Mike Jones. He is currently injured, so he might have an injury problem, but he does look like he might be pretty good. He is 23. The potential looks incredible, though. So Mark Humphreys has jumped up to our draft rank 38 now that he is fully scouted. I like him a lot as a potential second round option. Very balanced down the board. Future looks pretty good regardless of where you look. And Christopher Edney is really fascinating because it looks like he might be a player that has horrible potential, but really good overall immediately, which is intriguing as a draft pick, especially a team like the Angels that are looking to compete sooner rather than later. The sooner we are able to compete with Trout, the better, theoretically. But we're trying to do so in a way that also doesn't jeopardize our future. So he could be an interesting late round pick. He might be one of those cases where he starts at like an 82 overall but has low potential, which is weird. But this is what we're going to do for the final week. We are going to scout a closing pitcher in Jason Emerson. Just because he's a closer doesn't mean he has to stay a closer. Might just be a reliever, but looks really solid. Could have high potential. He's already 22. And then we're going to scout Mike Jones, that guy who's injured. Obviously don't love getting a guy with injury history, but he's a good fielder with good speed, which is what I look for in my center fielders. He doesn't have the power, but good contact hitter, good vision, good discipline. Could potentially be really solid. We shall see. And for now, that is it for scouting. And that is actually also going to wrap up this episode. Bit of a weird one. Angels are 42 46. They're 11 and a half games back of the Rangers and now Mariners, who are both tied. And in the wild card, they continue to just slip a little bit further, 3.5 back now of the Orioles, who hold that third spot. So I think as we get closer and closer to that trade deadline, it's feeling to me like we should probably do the mini blow up that I'm talking about. And I think that will likely happen in the next episode. episode. What I'd like to do in the next episode, get through that first year player draft, sim the rest of the month of July, get through the trade deadline, and be able to see how well we drafted by the end of the draft class. So if you have any advice, leave it in the comments section down below. And thank you guys so much for watching and for the continued support. This Angels series has been really fun so far. I am really enjoying the challenge of having to work around Trout. It is making it a much more challenging rebuild than just picking an absolute garbage can of a team like I did last year, which was the Rockies, where it's very easy to just blow it up, bring in all of your own new guys and make the team good from there. Taking this approach by keeping Trout, trying to get Trout that World Series, has made this a much more difficult franchise, and I'm enjoying that. As always, shout out to the channel members. You guys are the reason that I continue to make these videos. Robert Messenger, the Nerf Warrior, becoming none. I appreciate all of you very much. If you find yourself coming back on the regular and you aren't already subscribed, go ahead and hit that sub button for me. It does help me out a lot, and I will see you guys in the next episode, where the Angels are going to make their first draft and probably blow the team up at least a little bit.